it's a heavy topic to try and navigate. How do you tell your story? But I got a lot of amnesia from my childhood. I don't remember a lot. I remember some. Stuff comes back to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. That happened. I remember doing this and this. But to be real, it's like it's another life. It's something I lived through, but I didn't live through. It was just a whole nother life, right? And I am learning through recovering and getting myself whole and everything that I can block out a lot, but I can't actually. But the effects, what's underneath it, it always stays, and that's what it's about. It's unpacking that and processing it. But some of my earliest childhood memories, I guess I'll just start there. It was my earliest childhood memories. I remember being in bed and getting naked and calling my mom into my room because I wanted to be touched. And when I say touch, I wanted healthy touch, but I didn't know what was healthy and unhealthy or whatever. But I called her into my room and she got into my bed, and my mom, she started molesting me. That was some of my earliest memories. And I already knew the routine by then. I don't know how far back it goes, but this was around second grade, because I also remember, remembering it. I remember experiencing the body memories of what happened in the classroom. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. I was distraught. And I remember my mom, she was trying to penetrate me, and I would imagine these decks of cards, like cement cards, just blocking, falling, and just trying to separate that from me. And then I remembered her head in the back of my neck, and this is in the classroom. And I got up and I started to trying to swat it away with a fly, and I started walking around the classroom, and then that's all I remember. And those memories would come back to me every several years, and I didn't know what they meant at all. I remember in high school, when I was I'd say that was the worst period of my life. That's hard to go back to, high school, because there's so much going on in me. The PTSD and the dissociation, part of it was I wanted to die so bad. So the worst depression is feeling so. Yeah, this is hard. I'll just share dissociation. It's like you're sitting on your couch in your back of your brain watching life happen before your eyes, but it's a movie. It doesn't really matter. You can say stuff to some people that are good and they respond a certain way, or you can say stuff to people that are bad and they respond a certain way. But none of it really matters because it's not a real. It's just a movie. But I remember thinking in high school, and that I was a demon from hell, put on earth to be tormented by people, that my life was for their amusement, and then when I die, I was going back to hell, and that I figured it out. And so what I wanted to do was to kill innocents. I literally wanted to kill innocents because that's how I would get my power back. And that was a scary, scary fucking place to be, because I started to fantasize hard about literally shooting up my school. And for no rhyme or reason other than the place I was at mentally from all the incest and all the torment I went through throughout my grade school. So I guess I'll backtrack a bit. In some ways I was a normal kid because I went to a private grade school, private high school. I played sports all year round. And I hung out with, I guess you could say mostly healthy people from good families who I liked being a part of that, you know. I liked, and that was a good anchor and everything. But within the house and everything, it was, again, I don't remember anything. Like I can tell you throughout my entire life up to graduating high school, I'd get in arguments with my mom. We'd just be shouting so much vitriol and hatred. But I can't tell you a single thing what it was about. I don't remember anything what it's about. I just remember that I'm living these two lives, but I'm being pulled in like two different directions. Like, I want to be a normal kid, but at the same time, there's this part of me that's just, this sickness is just growing, and it's just this demented anger and hatred and darkness is growing. And I remember experiencing body memories of actually being raped by my mom in like the 5th grade classroom. And again, I have no recollection of what that's about, but pieces just come together and my life starts to make sense, you know. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting overwhelmed. I gotta chill for a second.
You say the classroom.
What's that?
When you say you were raped in the classroom.
No, it wasn't in the classroom. It was at home. But like your body stores that stuff, right? And you remember, and it feels like it's happening again, but you don't know what it's about. You know, like I'd have dreams of. I guess I'll just share this story, give you an idea what my mom was like. So, this is, God, I don't know how old I was. I was definitely less than 5th grade, but I remember I was playing a game with my mom where, I don't know, I'd call her names that, you know, kids would call their parents, you know, just like butthead and stuff like that. And she would kind of chase me around the house, and I'd run away and laugh and run away and laugh and things like that. And I remember she started to look in her face. She started to change and everything. She started to switch. And she got this very demented, sadistic look in her eyes where it scared the shit out of me. Honestly, I remember this time I'm terrified and I'm just running away from her and running away from her. And I run up the steps and she chases me up to the steps. And I run to my dad trying to get help. Like I'm like, fucking, like I didn't say, but I just run to my dad. I'm terrified, like I wanted safety. So I get to my dad and he just beelines off in the corner and goes like, nope, nope, nope. And he doesn't want to get involved. He's a coward, you know, he ran away. And that crushed me, you know. So my mom, she starts hitting me. And then I don't remember what happened next, but I remember, I think this is the same memory, running to my bed. And my mom's chasing me and I jump on my bed and she jumps up and she straddles me. And we start escalating back and forth in threats. And so eventually I put my thumb over her eye socket, her eyeball, and I say, like, I'm gonna gouge your eye out. And she just smiles at me. And after a second of standoff or whatever, I remove my hand and she comes down the side of my face and she starts licking it. And so occasionally I'd have dreams about that, but I didn't know what it meant. But when I wake up, the side of my face would be wet. So that's like the body memory, where your body just stores this trauma and you don't, and I don't know what it's about, but it's like it's happening again. I don't know why, but it's real. Like like literally the air feels different on this side of my face when it happens. Or you literally, like, if you're being scratched, you literally feel the scratch, but but I don't know what it's about. Like, why am I having these memories? Why am I experiencing this? I don't know anything, what's going on, what the root of it is or anything. But like I said, like sometimes when I'm would feel heavy and just trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with my life, these things would pop up, but I didn't know what they meant or anything like that. And then I just push it back down. But the effects of everything would stay there. So around 7th and 8th grade, the side of me from all the repression started to come through, and I go to high school. I start to, you know, I get cut from baseball. You know, I tried out. Baseball was my life, and it was all good. You know, other kids were better than me, but I just started to sink. Like, I didn't know how to connect with people. I didn't know how to relate to people, and that's when the numbness started to kick in. I started to get very numb, feeling nothing. Like, sometimes I remember walking down the hall between classes and just everybody's voice was an echo. Like, I couldn't even distinguish what people were saying. I was just completely out of it. And all this time I'm suffering and miserable. My parents, they're oblivious to it. And I just start to sink in high school. Like, people's laughter, I started to take it personally, like they were laughing at me. People's happiness started to, it just became too much to bear. It's hard to explain, but it's just like when you're hungry, right? It's worse when you're hungry next to a restaurant and people are eating really good food. You just want it more. And it was like, I just couldn't partake in it. And that's when suicide really started to take hold. It's like, the way I kind of describe it is, it's like you're in a quicksand, right? In a pit, and the slopes of the pit, you can't. They're like ice. I can't get any traction to climb out, so I'd struggle, and then I'd just give up. But then I'd get into quicksand. I'd start to sink and sink and sink, and then I'd struggle to climb out of it, and then I'd try to climb out again. So I just constantly kind of went between those two. That was my life. And that's when I'd start to put kind of ropes under my chin in the basement, things like that. I had a gun, but didn't have any bullets, but I would play with it. I'd fantasize about shooting people, and then I'd always put the gun in my mouth or under my chin and squeeze the trigger. We didn't have bullets for it, but that's what I did. It was just an outlet. It was just an outlet. The physical abuse from my mom, I'd say, stopped around 5th, 6th grade, but I remember she tried to initiate it again in high school. She would dissociate. I don't know if she had multiple personalities, but she'd definitely dissociate. And I remember, I think I was in freshman or sophomore year in high school, she'd get this vacant blank look on her face, like she'd just like smile. She'd just be like, but no one was home, right? And she'd just be like a completely different person. And I remember she would just walk by and she kept touching my arm, and I'd snap, and I'd just all this rage would bubble up, and I'd just point at her and get really intense, like don't fucking touch me energy. And she did that, and she ignored it. She did it maybe like 4 times or something like that, and finally something clicked in me, and I told her, I said, look, Mom, I don't know what's going on, but if you touch me again, I think I'm going to murder you. And then it just kind of hit me for a second. I'm like, yeah, I realized that's what I was going to do. And all she said was okay, and it stopped. But she found subtle ways to do shit. Like, I'd be watching TV and she'd stand in front of the TV and just bend over and point her crotch at me. And I guess I want to clarify too, you know, where I'm at right now, I don't look at myself as a victim. I really don't. I'm in a much better place. It's hard to kind of rehash these memories, but This is her shit. You know, it's not my shit. You know, I just kind of want to share this. One of my motivations for sharing this is it always hurts me when people endure bullshit from other people and it causes them to lash inwards or lash outwards, and it's just like, don't continue their sickness. You know, that's their problem. That's their issue. It ain't mine, and it ain't yours either. It's what they did is their bullshit, but do whatever you got to do, but don't continue it. You know, don't continue it through you. So anyways, this is the stuff she did, finding ways to like, bend over in front of the TV and other bullshit. I guess I can let that go. But kind of forgot where I was at. But yeah, high school was just shit. It was just complete shit.
But the underlying theme of your mom's strange behavior was kind of sexual?
Yeah, it was. And I blocked all that stuff out because I didn't, like, I got into kickboxing when I was a junior in high school, and I loved lifting weights. So I started to get some attention from women. And when it would come on, I'd freeze bad. Like I wouldn't, it was such a bad freeze response. And I thought, I didn't know if everyone dealt with this shit or if it's just me, but I didn't know why. But I blocked all of it out. But she definitely tried to reinitiate the abuse even up until I was 25 before everything came out. But I had to block everything out. I blocked everything out. Any type of sexual energy, I had to just block it out, and I had to go into denial. You know, I honestly think it saved me from doing something terrible that I'd regret. You know, many times, dude, I remember being in high school or college and standing behind her in the kitchen with a fucking knife and just trying to talk myself up to do it. Like, I'm so fortunate, man, to be where I'm at. Like, seriously, dude. But I blocked it all out. And emotions are just emotions. They're nothing to be ashamed of. Same with thoughts.
You never acted out anything?
No. If y'all went through my life with a comb, you know, I wouldn't get arrested. It's just by the grace of God that I'm here, straight up. Like, by the grace of God, I'm here. I'm doing pretty good, you know.
You're working?
I'm working. I got some money saved. I don't drink. I don't even like to drink. I do once in a while, but it's just bullshit. It's just the remnants of something I thought I have to do. I don't like smoking weed.
You're resilient.
Very. Working out and eating healthy is my addiction. I just feel good. I just think life's getting better and better. I'm very optimistic.
How old are you?
What? 38.
38.
Yeah, 38.
Were you an only child?
No, I got a brother, older brother, 20 months.
Did he go through anything like that?
When I told him, he said he thought about it for like 3 hours and decided he wasn't. But with all due respect to him, he has his own struggles too. You don't come out of that unharmed. I don't know what exactly he went through. I know a little, but I love him and I hope the best for him.
He believed you?
I don't think, no one does, my family. I don't think they can. But he don't. I don't know, they don't.
What's your relationship like with your parents now?
I've seen my mom twice since 2009, 2010, when everything came out and I got out of the mental hospital. I lived at home for about 3 months. I thought we were going to be a happy family. Like, oh, I finally realized what happened. Mom, it's okay, I forgive you. You can finally let the weight off your back and we can be that family I always dreamed of. Like, I was so naive. And my dad, to be blunt, is in many respects an utter failure. Like, but nah, my mom, I've seen her, when I last saw her, I saw her twice since 2010 for a total of about 5 minutes. I spoke to her on the phone for a brief period of time when I was like, hardcore Christian, thought that God needed me to do that or some bullshit. Like I was a good Christian. I had to forgive her. I was just misguided and shit like that. But I don't talk to her anymore. I don't think I will ever again. Honestly, I've gotten peace with that. My relationship with my dad is strained because it's mostly me feeling sorry for him because he's getting old. He's kind of losing his memory a bit. And it's tough because he's very needy, lonely, and it's kind of a burden to me. And in many ways I do it just because I feel it's a good thing to do. But as I grow and I really learn how to connect with people and realize like there's so many good people out there. There's so many good people out there, and I'm learning how to open up and be receptive to that goodness and everything, and learning my own value and how to give back and my own worth, man. It makes life incredible. And the more I branch onto that, the more I just got to let go. So part of me honestly feels I've forgiven my dad and moved on from that, but I have no desire to speak to him anymore.
What do you think your mom went through as a child in her life?
She was, I know they were hillbillies. They hate that word, but fuck it. There's a lot of violence in their house, a lot of mental illness, a lot of shit like that. My grandma was horribly abusive. She'd tell me stories when I was a kid about how they'd fight. I think my uncle molested my mom. That was kind of dropped. And my mom would tell me stories like they would fight and she'd get hit in the head with high heel shoes and bleed and just shit like that. They'd fight all the time and yell. And even when I was an adult, like they were crazy. Like there's a lot of alcohol abuse in that side of the family, a lot of spousal abuse, and just insanity, man, in general.
Where did she grow up?
Mansfield, Ohio, rural Ohio. My dad was from there, or another area, kind of Butler, another kind of rural area. That's that. They're, yeah. They moved to the city. I remember my mom kind of trying to get the accent out of me a bit because they had that fur, you know, we don't, it's not fur, it's for. You know, you've got to talk proper and stuff like that. And I didn't even know, but then I read the book Hillbilly Elegy, and it put a lot of sense in my life, actually. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's what they're about. All right. But so there's a lot of shame around that. But I don't know. I kind of like my accent and everything, you know.
You grew up in Ohio?
Yeah, Columbus, a city. Like I said, went to private school, went to private high school. Parents paid for college, like 95% of it. Graduated, never used my bottom of my class, but I graduated, and that was the big thing, man.
So your parents weren't all bad?
No, they did provide, and if I can give them credit for that, I never went hungry, and I had a place to sleep. Realistically, you know, thank you for pointing that out, for real. I always had a place to sleep, and I had food, and I did get a good education. That helped me out a lot. So, no, they weren't all bad. And that's part of the confusion too, the trying to reconcile everything, feeling guilty over this, you know, feeling guilty that.
How long or how often did it go on?
Which part?
The sexual abuse with your mom.
I don't know when it stopped. I'd say 5th grade. I don't know how early it was. I'd say kindergarten to 5th grade. But afterwards, there's a lot of mental and emotional abuse. Like my mom, talking to me about her period one day, and I didn't want to fucking hear it, and just sick shit like that really messes with your brain.
But the fact that she kept trying to get into it again
I think
when you
she
were
was
25.
I don't know. This was in high school. I don't know her motivation. I think she was just an abusive person. I don't know if she was a full-on psychopath, but I think she was just a straight-up abusive person. And that's what abusive people do. They like to hurt people. They take sadistic pleasure in it, and that was her. Sadistic pleasure in it. I really believe that.
Has your ability to break it down and understand it, helped calm you down?
A little. The only thing it does is helping me understand it, helps me process it, because I've never been able to solve emotional issues mentally. But what it does gets me to a point where I can face it. I feel like I can face it. I can talk to somebody, I can face it, and I can, when I feel like there's something I got to do that scares me, whether it be going on a retreat and to really process the emotions. Mentally trying to understand my problems just gets me to a point where I can't BS my way out of it. I can't through fear. It's just a yes or a no. I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it. Thankfully, I usually choose courage and I do it. Thankfully, so. But understanding it, I don't think is necessary. As long as you can feel it, you're good. That's how you heal. I honest to God hope if one person hears this and thinks, man, like they're not alone and they can really change, that's it right there. That's just kind of what I want, honestly. Because like I said, man, I feel so fortunate and blessed, man. I've had to leave some people behind, but I don't know what it is that makes me just want to keep going, other than this overwhelming desire that I just cannot believe that because of a set of circumstances in my life that happened, that I'm doomed or I'm destined or I'm fated to live this subpar bullshit. I don't believe that at all. I don't want. I will die before I quit. I was a victim, but I don't see how I'm a victim now. I don't see how I'm a victim now from my past. There's shit I got to work through, but
Sometimes people go through this kind of stuff and it makes them stronger, more resilient, and more loving in the end.
It does.
But everybody takes the wrong path.
Yeah. Not everybody does do that right path. No. Some people quit and they give up on themselves, or they give up on life, or they resign, and that's sad. But I can honestly say there are things that I'm proud about who I am, looking back these past 12 years and what recovery's been. I got a lot of faith. I know I'm very strong. I got some good friends who I jokingly say are normies. That was what we called. And I'm able to actually give them good advice and be there for them, because eventually you see other people deal with the same problems, just on different degrees. I do genuinely love people and I help them out and I do a good job. I took care of people with special needs and disabilities for a while, and I took that job extremely seriously, because in a way it was like they were me, and you see their needs and everything. Like there's this one dude with schizophrenia. I talked to him, normal conversations, but he'd tell me stories about how his neighbors are trying to light the grass on fire and things like that. And he needed to be cleaned and everything. And when I cleaned it, this is descriptive, there'd be, after he went number 2, and he wore diapers and stuff. And sometimes I'd have to clean that up, And other staff members wouldn't do a good job. There'd be like a lot of crust in there, and it's just like, that's a human being who feels it too, who feels the same discomfort. So, I'd make sure I just do my best, and that's kind of how everything I've been through and the recovery has changed me. Is like, it does make me very empathetic and compassionate too. I really do in many ways like the man I am now.
Yeah, well, I think understanding
Yeah.
how people got into these situations or
Yeah.
have this mental damage
Yeah.
is the key. And it makes you more empathetic. It makes you more compassionate.
Yeah.
It helps you heal, helps others.
I remember when I lived in a homeless shelter, hearing the stories of the other people there, it's just like, I can't get mad at these people at all, I mean, of course I'm there too, but the tragedy that they went through was like astronomical, A good friend of mine there He was a little younger than me. He grew up in the ghetto, and he was a gangbanger and a drug dealer. And here I am, this college-educated white boy with this 6'6" black dude who was a pimp, drug dealer, and we'd play basketball and talk and stuff. And straight up, like I loved the dude. You know, we just connected on such a deep level. You know, and he was such a. I'm so grateful he opened up to me. But I asked him one time, I'm like, how many people you seen shot? And he's like, I can't tell you. I'm like, how many murders you seen? He's like, I've seen 5 murders. And all the insanity he shared, it's just like this whole generation's growing up with PTSD in these fucking inner cities. And I had no idea.
Grant, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in all of this?
You have to believe in yourself and don't quit. Even when things bottom out, you might be at the edge of a breakthrough. It might be at the edge of just trying to change your mind about your circumstances and decide something different. Or maybe you're holding on to something too tight, but you never quit, and you have to believe in yourself, and you're far stronger than you can imagine. Like I'm jumping around a bit, but when I moved out of the my parents' house after everything came out, I remember I got my own apartment, and I remember I'd lie on the floor sometimes into fetal position because I felt I couldn't even work at McDonald's. I was so incompetent. I couldn't even work at McDonald's. And I get comfort myself by saying all the problems. You know, I was living off my savings. I thought, don't worry about your problems, man. There's train tracks nearby you. You can drink and smoke weed and just end it all, and you'll be fine. And I'd comfort myself that way. So, I mean, it was literally like trying to bring myself up from the bottom up. And through this whole trauma and stuff, I wanted to go back to my parents for comfort and reassurance, but I knew I couldn't because they were the problem. I guess I'll continue. So I graduated from high school eventually. Sucked. Senior year, sat alone by myself during lunch. Humiliating. It was so utterly humiliating. I was so out of it. Shit, man. I was. This is embarrassing, but fuck it. I would be sitting there by myself, and about 10 feet over there, where the freshman girls would begin to sit. I just had nobody, man. I was so fucking out of it by this point. Oh God, it was shit, dude. It was such shit. But I graduated, went to college, started college, and it got a little better and everything like that. Fuck. Yeah, this is hard. I ain't gonna lie, this is hard, but couldn't figure out why I couldn't connect with people and relate to people. I'd still that numbing heaviness, I'm still walking around the world, talking to people, trying to understand them from an intellectual point, not able to open up, not able to connect, didn't even know what emotions were. And I'm starting to understand people. But the good thing I got going for me is I'm kickboxing like 5 days a week, and I'm exercising. I love the feeling afterwards. So anyways, at some point, all the stress broke me, and I thought I was fucked up. I thought I had the perfect parents, and they were so fucked up for tolerating, and they were so perfect for tolerating a fucked up person like me. It just broke me. So I'm just going through life now, this meek, scared, quiet, subdued person. But I'm also doing kickboxing, and it's just a good thing in my life, right? And I meet a girl, she likes me kind of, and we spend the night together. Nothing happened beyond holding each other, but it felt so good. And that unlocked something. I didn't get a second date out of it, but it unlocked something. Because, I mean, it's not just about, for me at least, this is what I went through, poor me. Like, I really want to share positive, the positive stuff. I want to go heavy. I feel like going heavy is okay because people go through such heavy shit, and I don't want people to feel like they're alone. But there's some really good stuff too that happened when I started to get my life together and everything like that. Oh, fuck. So I guess, long story short, man, everything I went through, it's had to have its own voice. It came out. I started to feel so much guilt and shame, and I literally had a psychotic breakdown over the course of a couple months. I prayed. I didn't like who I was, so I prayed to God. I'm like, I want a trial by fire because I don't feel like a man. I want to feel like a man. So give me a trial by fire. And all this stuff, this guilt and this shame and all this pressure started to come up over the course of a couple months. And at one point I remember I thought the TV was talking to me, telling me, sending me messages like legitimately. It was just, stress was unbelievable. I'm going to classes at this time. And then at one point I stopped eating. I stopped eating for about 3 days and I just became gaunt. And I believed in my soul I was getting better. But I just literally lost my mind, and I shared all this personal information with actually that random girl. I just constructed something in my mind, and when I realized what had happened, that was it. That was it. I just couldn't go on anymore. I gave up. I tried. I just didn't have any more to give. So how everything came out was, once it happened, I was like muttering and talking to myself, just the stress. I took a small dresser in my room and I threw it against the wall and I smashed it. Then I just went down and blew up at my parents. My mom freaked out. She left, and I went to my backyard and I smoked a bunch of weed because I knew that I was going to act out act out my emotions, right? And it's definitely heavy, but sure. This is when I guess you could say the dark night of the soul. And how everything came out. So I smashed up my room, and then I smoked a bunch of weed because I knew I'd act on my emotions by then. And I'm in my backyard, and I told God, I'm like, look, if you don't tell me your plan for my life tonight, I'm going to kill myself. And so I went in, my dad's watching TV, and I'm freaking the fuck out at this moment. I got this big glass bottle of vodka and sleeping pills and a rope that I had previously tied. I was going to hang myself in the basement. And the feeling, and all I remember is the feeling that I had to disappear. Like there's this big hole in my chest and all my energy was caving in and I had to disappear. And I couldn't go back. I couldn't go on any longer. I just couldn't, I gave up. And so I remember thinking, I'm freaking out. My dad's on the couch. He doesn't know what to do. I'm thinking, okay, I got to go in the basement and hang myself now. Drink it, take it, hang myself. And I remember a thought came in my head that said, no, if you do that, she's going to call the cops. You got to hit him with the bottle until he stops moving, and then you can do it. And that's when it got heavy, really heavy, because that was the driving force in me. My next emotion was to do that. And I don't want to say my life flashed before my eyes, but the way I describe it is when you watch a movie, right, and there's like these certain red flags that pop up, right? All of a sudden you get to the end, and those little red flags are the actual truth and not what's going on. The person's being gaslit. So I just remember thinking, I never believed I'd live to be 30 years old, and all these other things had led to this moment. And I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't go back, right? And in my mind, I'm like, help. And a thought said, just go over, sit next to your dad, say, please tell me I'm all right. Please tell me I'll be okay. And I didn't want to do that either because it was like vulnerable and scary. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then the thought said, no, you have to decide. What are you going to do right now? So I ended up thankfully going over and saying that, and he rubbed my back, and said that, and the emotions went away just like that. And I knew I was going to be all right. And next day I start this outpatient program at the hospital, and we would get in touch with our emotions and things like that. I remember feeling emotions for like the first time, like, oh, this is great. Like I could identify my emotions. And I remember after the gym one day, telling myself that I was molested by my mom, and that's why I was the way I was, because it brought me comfort. Even though I had no memories, it just brought me comfort. And so anyways, I'm doing this outpatient program at the hospital. I'm getting in touch with my emotions. I remember one night, just this overwhelming urge or voice or something like that came up. And after 2 weeks said, this is what happened to you. And it just felt right. I just knew it. Even though I had no memory, I just knew it. I go to the hospital next day, and they're asking me just to check in. And I wanted to say what I believed, but I couldn't say it. And I just started shaking all over. Like it was this little ball of energy that started to like shoot up my body. It would go through my legs, just ping pong and rebound all throughout my body. And wherever it would go, I'd shake, I'd shake, right? And one of the guys there asked me, he made me say it. I said it, and I'm just like freaking out, And he asked me if I was a harm to myself or someone else, and I said, yeah, I might kill my mom. Like I didn't know if I would or not. And he said, well, I can't let you leave. I'm like, okay. So I was in the lockdown part of the hospital for a week, and in there all the memories came back, and that's when stuff clicked and made sense. And I kind of realized, and that started recovery. It's been the focal point of my life.
Have you seen a therapist?
Right now, yeah, I am. I've been on and off, I've been on and off. Right now I do something called surrogate therapy, where I basically retrain my body how to let people get close to me and touch me, to enjoy the process and of moving towards sex and everything like that. And it's been great. It's been helping me out a lot. I've done a lot, dude. I've done a lot. And for the most part, I'm pretty good now.
I would think this has got to impact your sexual relationships.
It makes me enjoy women more. It helps me, I feel their energy. Like every woman I meet, their energy is different. Sometimes they're bubbly, sometimes they're girly, sometimes it's just different, and I enjoy it. Like it's just a fun, appreciative. Like I can really appreciate women now.
But that wasn't always the case.
Before that, no, I didn't feel anything. What would happen before was I would meet somebody I liked, and as soon as we got close, I just shut down, and then I'd feel a disgust. I'd feel very disgusted at them. And I thought I was gay. Like, even though I never been attracted to men, I thought I was gay, because why else am I feeling disgusted towards women, right? But no, it's helped a lot, dude. But no, it's just learning to feel comfortable in my body. It took me a while to define recovery as being able to speak my truth and feeling safe in my own body. And at times I legitimately experience that. It's done a lot. I know we're short on time, but I could talk for another 45 minutes about all the experiences I had. Faith is extremely important too, for me at least, because I wouldn't be able to take the risk I took. Like I moved out of state twice. I've had to give up my stuff twice, but I always know things are going to be all right. And I got somebody or higher power looking over me. Mine's Jesus. I don't particularly feel comfortable at the church a lot, but things that happened in my life just have led me to believe that that's who's looking out for me, and gives me a lot of comfort. For real, it does. I've been hurt in the church. I know a lot of people. I met people who have too. So if you have, I'm sorry, for real. There's a lot of toxicity in there, but if I'm just being real with you, that helped me kind of get to a point where I got a lot of faith and optimism and hope for the future. And at times I genuinely like who I am and what I've been through and the recovery effort I put in these past 12 years that helped me get to a point where I'm proud, like I'm legit proud of who I am, like the resilience and just the grit and the toughness and the work I put into just being strong. You know, it's feels good. You know, I feel good about who I am and being able to open up more and connect. I just feel like my life's getting better, for real. The dark days aren't dark. They're not hopeless. They're opportunities to grow. They're opportunities to toughen yourself. Nothing to be. They're lessons. There's lessons that are in there. That's how you get wise, is through suffering. There's no other way that I know of. So I wouldn't trade really anything. Sometimes I wish things were different, but right now I wouldn't trade anything because I feel like my roots are so deep right now that I want to see what I can grow into, bro. You know, I wouldn't trade a lot. I just wish people would believe they're not alone and don't give up on yourself. Try again. Why not? You know, you're going to die one day anyways. Why not go out knowing that you didn't quit and you didn't resign on yourself or quit on yourself ever? Don't do that.
Thank you, Grant.